All right, now finally the good news. And we've been building, it's taken quite a while to build to this point. But we needed to lay all the groundwork through the other videos. So the good news is, despite all the evil that's happening in the world right now, the Creator has given us a blueprint on how to build a new society based on His ancient ways, His ancient cultures, like what we had with King Solomon's time. And yeah, so it's getting back to all the ancient ways. And as I said before, the plan is that for the according to your seven fires prophecy affirms this, that when the red-skinned brother and the white-skinned brother and sister come together with their knowledge, they will form a mighty nation. This is your own prophecy saying this. And the seven mountains prophecy affirms that. I'll explain this through some slides here. So let's get on with the good news. And I'm just going to share slides. All right. So where we left off with the bad news part was we had all of society has been infiltrated with evil, and that the deep state or whatever holds the high ground, and the people are groaning. All right. So with this blueprint, the seven mountains prophecy is saying that we are to rebuild. It's actually 14 mountains is the blueprint, 14 mountains. Just start building slowly and underground, quietly build these miniature villages. And I'll get into detail into that in a minute. And while we're building, the Creator is going to take care of exposing and wiping out all the evil leaders that are holding the high ground and leading all these mountains all around the world. So I'll give you an example. It's actually happening now. So the seven mountains prophecy was given, oh goodness, I think it was like 8 years ago or something like that. And it's now it's playing out. So for example, in government, well, we're seeing, even in Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is being exposed for his crimes, right? And let's talk about business. Well, one of wealthy businessman Jeffrey Epstein from New York, or the United States anyway, I think he was from New York. He and his girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell ran, amongst their businesses, sex slavery, prostitution, sex slavery industry worth millions, and it was global. It was all over the world. They had royal family in that, anyways, caught, exposed, never actually went to court because he died in prison. But his girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted, I think last year, actually. All right, let's talk about Sports Mountain. Dr. Larry Nassar, convicted and is in jail now. Let's look at the Religion Mountain, right? The Vatican was exposed and is now having to pay out tons of money. And other church leaders being exposed. Let's see, so it's happening right now before our very eyes. It's actually happening. The Creator is taking care of all of that, and we are just to start building. All right. So it's called the 14 Mountain Blueprint. The 14 mountains are, we've changed, some of them are the same as the original 7, but the names have been changed. So instead of the Business Mountain, it's the Entrepreneurship Mountain. It's just because we need a change of mindset, a new way of looking at things. But there, as you can see, so Entrepreneurship Mountain, the Communication Mountain. Actually, this needs to change. It's going to be the Spiritual Mountain, the Government Mountain, family, housing, arts, education, sport, water and power, transportation, farming, health, and security. All right. So we've already talked about this, about how controlling people want more control on how they do it. So the good news is implementing this blueprint is to protect us in the times that are coming when governments are collapsing, economies are collapsing, like the banking system will be collapsing, education systems will be collapsing. As they're collapsing, we don't have to worry, right? Because we've got it, we're building a new system. All right. To provide food for us, healthy food, a lot of food, to make us healthy mentally and physically, make us wealthy, provide an environment of peace, love, and joy, all of that stuff, right? And it's getting back to your ancient ways, right? And so I know I've heard that a lot is, we need to get back to our ancient ways. We need to get back to our ancient ways. But if you'll remember from your own Seven Fires prophecy, you're stuck, right? It's because your own prophecy says, as soon as you cross over the Bering Sea, you're going to lose your way, right? And you won't be able to find your way back until the seventh fire, right, with the true white brother, which we talked about 2 videos ago. And when one of your other prophecies in the Seven Fires prophecy, one of them says, when the red skin people join with the white skin people, join our knowledge together, then we create a mighty, powerful nation. And then after that, the black skin people and the yellow skin people join into there, and it creates a mighty nation all around the world. And that's what we're talking about with the Seven Fires, the Seven Mountains prophecy. It crosses, or they affirm each other. When we work together to rebuild these 14 mountains of society, we take over from evil. The world becomes the kind of world that we dream of, but never really thought was possible. Well, I'm saying that it is possible because the Creator has given us the plan to do it. And we cannot do it alone. And this is specific as part of the plan, is the Indigenous people cannot build it on their own. It's designed that way. You can't. And the white skinned people cannot build it on their own. It's impossible because the very nature of it is love. The very nature of it is oneness and cooperation. It must be done together. All right, let's keep going. Again, 14 mountains blueprint. There's some images for each of the 14 mountains. All right, so we're doing it under a group called Hesed International. So building prosperous, sustainable communities. All right, they're miniature, prosperous, sustainable communities all over the world. And some of them have already started. All right. Hesed means unearned, undeserved, faithful love, right? So it's unconditional love that no matter how much you mess up, you are still loved, right? And no matter how much somebody else messes up, we still love them. It's that unconditional love. There's accountability, of course, but it's based on love. All right. Based on King Solomon's, this is actually Jerusalem, from where all of your ancestors came from. And they are incubators because it's to guard and protect the children for the next generations, next 7 and more generations, to raise them not the world's way, because we know that's been filled with evil and corruption, but to raise them the Creator's way, right? The true way, and getting back to that original design. All right, so that's why they're called incubators. All right, they look like Garden of Eden regenerative ecosystems. So what that means is they look like a Garden of Eden. They're beautiful, right? And the regenerative meaning, and you guys understand this. This is the beauty that you bring to implementing the design, the blueprint. is understanding which plants to put next to which plants that complement one another. Even the homes are a part of the landscape. And they're ecosystems because they're full of life and they feed off of one another in a healthy way. It's a return to the ancient scrolls. There's an actual photograph of one of the ancient scrolls. All right. So there's specific blueprints, right? Meaning there is a way to build it and for it to work. And what he showed me when he was given the 14 mountain blueprint was that as everything comes into place, is that it almost provides a dome of protection, like an environment that evil or disease or war, anything going on around the outside cannot penetrate. All right. And so let's talk about the 14 mountains. I'm just going to go through them briefly for now, but the first one is family. And what that means is getting back to what a father really is. How does a father function? What is his purpose in the family? And how does a father raise the children? And there's the African Indigenous people have come up with a really beautiful curriculum on how to do this. And then what is a mother, and how do the mother and father work together? And what is the role of the mother? What is the role of the child? All right. Discipleship, again, we're changing this to spirituality or spiritual mountain, but Yahweh is following Yahweh's ways, right? All right. Farming, no pesticides, no herbicides, no hormones or anything like that, all natural foods. All right. All right. Housing, all the housing is all natural. So timber, cob, which is a mixture of sand, clay, and straw, kind of like adobe, hemp bricks, and there's another one that I'm trying to remember. Oh goodness, I'm missing one. Oh, even we can't do thatch in North America, but all natural materials. And the reason why is currently houses are built with petrochemical products, right? And so they give off fumes and vapors, even though we can't really smell it. But carpeting, varnishes, all that sort of thing, tar, they give off fumes, and they're like they're unhealthy for us to live in. And when people move to these all natural houses, they immediately, allergies go away, food sensitivities go away, asthma goes away. So it's all about being healthy and living closer to the earth, the land. All right. Education, not sitting in classrooms with textbooks and chairs or desks in a row, but it's experiential learning where the students spend most of their time outside. I guess not, of course, when it's bitter cold, but outside, picking up leaves and learning from them, exploring the outdoors. And it's also relational. So you see here the teacher interacting with the student. It's very relational. And the other thing is it's experiential. So the children are actually building the other mountains. So they're learning to build a house with cob, with timber, with hemp bricks. They're learning angles and math and geometry. They're learning construction. In the arts mountain, they're learning sewing and painting and sculpting and gardening. They're learning farming by building a farm, right? They're learning, so that's science. They're learning, they're doing sport, which still happens today, but we'll get into sport a little bit later. But they're actually building the villages, and as they build, they're learning. So that's part of the beauty of the blueprint. Government, there's a specific design. The creator chooses the leader of the kingdom or the village. Because the creator knows the heart of people. He knows the heart of, but people in a democratic society is actually not from the creator. That's a colonist or a wealthy elite. That what that does is pits people against one another, right? That is not the creator's design, but his design is he chooses the leader. So he tells a prophet who the leader should be. The prophet assigns that leader. That leader takes, the leadership position, and then there's a council of 12, which I think most Indigenous people communities are familiar with. The council members are representing each of the other mountains. And so government, I won't get into the detail of it, but basically it's having people like King Solomon who hear from the creator and implement what the creator says. All right. Entrepreneurship. All right. One of the things is this design, this approach for each of these mountains produces a lot of wealth, and everyone becomes wealthy because everyone is a part or an entrepreneur in all the enterprises for that village, right? Everyone grows healthy and wealthy together. That's the design. All right. I'll just go back and with the entrepreneurship, it's not about how do I put it? Getting a good deal. We pay fair prices for everything, and we charge fair prices. There's no wheeling dealing. There's no competition in the creator's world. There's no competition. We're all we're fair to one another. All right. Water and power. That's having wells that are independent from city water or government or municipal water systems, because of course they can be cut off or poisoned. So that means independent wells that we control, whoever lives in the village controls. Power means hydropower, wind power, or solar power, independent of corporate or government grids. They must be controlled by our villages, so that they can't be controlled by the people that want to control us. All right. Sport, getting back to the original purposes of sport, which are: one, to train men and women for war. So if you think of fencing, right, or that used to be sword fighting. You think of equestrian events, that used to be training people for hunting and for war. Oh, two of the 6 purposes are training men and women for war, training men and women for hunting and provision. So what are some other ones? Wrestling, that was preparing soldiers for war. Yeah, so it's, those are 2 of the purposes. Another one is training leaders and for character development. 4 is for goodness, I gotta try to remember now. Community building. So everyone comes together to watch a game or to play together. It builds community. And then just recreation and fun, right? And finally, for mental and physical health. All right, so it's designing sports programs to get back to those ways. All right, health. All right, so this is natural herbs and medicines. This is according to your ancient scrolls and according to Yahweh, just he would lay hands on people and they would be healed because he carried such a presence of heaven, of the Creator. And just healthy eating, natural salves or creams and teas and things like that. And just the food we're eating is healthy. There's no doctors because they're not necessary. Yeah. All right. So arts, so that's sewing and creating clothing. That is oh goodness. Yeah, painting, sculpting, gardening with like flower gardening, dancing, singing. That's the arts. All right. Communication. All right. So this is where, and we're working on trying to find someone for this. This is where we need a communication platform where it cannot be censored by the government, can't be canceled. Like Facebook will cancel you if you share things or say things that are contrary to what the global elite want you to be talking about. Same with YouTube, you can be canceled. Yeah, so having platforms where we can communicate effectively. Transportation, what he showed me was that fossil fuels are not going to be available. And so to get back to horses for transportation, so we have to get good at breeding horses, training them, and riding them. All right. And security. He said, build a wall around each of the villages. And so what that means is to keep the enemy out and to keep good in, to protect everybody. All right. And that, of course, means people to guard those walls and gates as well. And that's the blueprint. All right, so that's the good news. So basically what's happening right now already around the world is we're starting to build these sustainable, prosperous villages. And it's time, though. There's a missing link, and that is the Indigenous people of North America, of Turtle Island. That's what's missing. And the design, because you carry the design in your hearts, right? It's in you. And so there's something about joining together to build these sustainable villages that you bring that we don't have. And there's something we have that we bring to the table as well. So that's the good news. So this would be the end of this introductory video series. And on our website, you would be able to contact us for more questions. How do I get involved? How do I start a village in my area? Just anything. You can ask any question. So the email address, my personal one, well, my email address through Hesed is Kate, Kate, at HesedInternational.com. So that's Kate at Hesed, HESED, international.com. And we go from there. Well, I hope this series has been enlightening, encouraging. And I really, truly hope that we can all work together. I want to work with you to build a better world for the kids that are coming after us.